Here in Louisiana, there was a Medicaid audit, and we've got, I know you're stunned to hear this, there was a great amount of fraud. And you're pretty adamant about what the state ought to do. You're calling for the resignation of Rebecca Gee, right?
Well, Dr. Gee is responsible. She's a nice person. She's a good doctor, but she's not doing her job. If this happened in the private sector, she would be fired within an hour. Dr. Gee needs to step down. She lives in New Orleans. She works in Baton Rouge. She only works 4 days a week. That's not a 4-day-a-week job. And the legislative auditor, this is just based on a superficial look, estimates that she's responsible for wasting $85 million. Basically, they're letting anybody who wants to join Medicaid without checking how much money they make. And I looked at I can't use names, but I'll give you some examples. Here's one person that the legislative auditor fired. I don't know whether it's a man or a woman. I'm just going to use he. He was on Medicaid from July 1, 16 to March 1, 18. He makes $311,069 a year. Here's another person they put on Medicaid from December 1, 16 to 11, 1, 17. This individual makes $390,968 a year. And I could keep going down the list. Here's another one on Medicaid making $110,000 a year, another one making $124,000 a year. This is called fraud. And Dr. Gee and her team at the Department of Health or DHH or whatever they're calling themselves now, they're responsible for this. And then the governor, instead of doing the right thing here, he's defending her, and that's his call.
I was just going to say,
maybe he feels politically he has to, but she took $85 million at a time when the governor was telling everybody we were broke and we had to raise taxes. She took $85 million and threw it in the dirt, and that's just scratching the surface.
She serves
the
at the
governor
pleasure.
Needs to let the legislative auditor go back in and do a complete audit. He may find $500 million.
She serves at the pleasure of the governor and John Bell. John Bell was the one who wanted to expand Medicaid to this. Do you think he really cares about the fraud?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look to me like it. Representative Tony Bacala had a bill in the legislative session to try to tighten up on checking people's eligibility, and the governor killed his bill. And I think Dr. Gee testified against it. Now we know why. Of course, they immediately came out and said, oh, we're in the process of fixing the problem. I mean, I've heard that before, and it's not personal. I like Dr. Gee. I mean, she's a lovely person, but she needs to go, and they need to put somebody over there who understands the value of a taxpayer dollar. And I just think there's massive waste and fraud over there.
Mr. John,
and that hurts people who really need Medicaid.
One more thing.
And it's not fair to taxpayers, and it's not fair to the people who truly are needy.
One more thing I want to cover, and that's federal flood insurance. And not a lot of people know that this is not a legislation that is enacted in perpetuity. It keeps rolling over and renewed and renewed. And that just seems kind of odd, doesn't it, to you?
Yeah, but it's typical federal government. I mean, here's the problem. We need national flood insurance. It's the only place you can buy flood insurance, and we need it in Louisiana, and they need it in every state. We're trying to pass a reform bill to stabilize the program and make it affordable. I can't get a majority of the Senate to go along. They hadn't said no. They just won't focus. I mean, you can lead a man to Congress, but you can't make him think. But I don't want the program to expire. It expires November 30th. I've introduced a bill to extend it and maintain the status quo for 6 months. I wish I had a better alternative, but the only thing, worse than passing a bad bill, in this case, is passing no bill. We can't let the program expire, and we've got to act by November 30th.
So what's going to happen? What do you see?
Well, I mean, I've got a lot of support. Bill Cassidy's with me, of course. Marco Rubio in Florida, Bob Menendez in New Jersey. I've got a bunch of people for it. It's just really the time pressure right now.
And this is a bill. It's not so much Republican and Democrat. It's sort of a geographical fight, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got some senators from some states that have never flooded, and I'm happy for them. They've never flooded, but it's just not a high priority for them. And but I can tell them this: I don't care if they don't have any bodies of water in their state. If they get 20 to 30 inches of rain in 2 days, like we did back in 2016 in Louisiana, I hate to tell them, but they're going to flood, and they're going to wish they had the flood insurance program.
So what's the time frame on this? Do you think you got the votes for a 6-month extension at least, right?
Yes, if I can get it to the floor. And by that I mean we're on a tight window. Everybody's gone home for Thanksgiving. We'll be back Monday week. And, I've just got to get them to pay attention.